the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima and Carlo. On today's show we will review the weekend Serie A matches as Napoli blow the chance to pull away in the Scudetto race with a disappointing draw against Udinese. Elsewhere, Mateo Retegui hits a sensational poker, 4 goals as Atalanta thrash Verona. Randal Kolo Muani continues his brilliant start for Juventus with another double against Como. Santi Gimenez scores on his Serie A debut as 10-man Milan beat 10-man Empoli. Lazio thrash Monza to stay fourth. Paulo Dybala's penalty earns Roma a win at Venezia. And we will also preview the Champions League and Europa League playoff matches this week, finishing off with our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie ASS of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. The link is in the description. And for all of you that do listen on Spotify, Apple, and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, follow us, give us a like. Also, we are on YouTube as well, so do subscribe to us there. It really helps us to grow. And finally, you can also become a patron on YouTube via YouTube memberships. Go to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/@ItaFootPod for more details. Okay, let's get into today's show. So we'll start off with the big game on Sunday evening, Napoli against Udinese. Napoli coming into this game knowing that they had a golden opportunity to really strike a Scudetto blow against Inter after Inter had lost to Fiorentina on Thursday in the rearranged game. Napoli knew that if they won this game, they would have gone 6 points clear, having played a game more, but opened up a little bit of a gap at the top. And it was a win that everybody expected them to get, but they only draw 1-1. Udinese deservedly get a point. Napoli were really quite poor, to be honest with you, especially in the second half. So it's a big. They've let Inter off the hook, Napoli, by drawing this game. And my biggest takeaway from this game is, and I said this after the transfer window closed a week ago now, that Napoli Napoli have thrown away their chance of. They might still go on and win the Scudetto, but they've thrown away a golden opportunity to strengthen their team in January and really go on and win the Scudetto because they had a golden opportunity there. And they didn't replace Kvaratskhelia. They didn't spend their Kvaratskhelia money. They're weaker now, of course they are, than they were before the January market. And this game illustrated really what they are missing, having not done that, and it was shown in this game. This is a squad that, on paper, is way off Scudetto level. When I say the squad, I mean the depth of the squad. I mean, they have a couple of players out, and they're starting Juan Jesus and Mazzocchi, who both were to blame for the goal, and the options to come off the bench. I mean, just look at Napoli's bench and have a look at the players on their bench in this game and the players that Conte had to bring on to try and win this game in the closing stages. I mean, it's mid-table Serie A level, his bench, to be honest. And the subs who came on against Udinese were horrendous. So, Napoli might go on and still win the Scudetto. If they do, it's down to a Conte miracle, in my opinion, given the squad that he has. But I really have to blame Napoli for not replacing Kvaratskhelia. And if by the end of the season they don't win the Scudetto, then Conte has every right. I would say has every right to walk because he's been let down by his club in January.
Had Napoli won the Scudetto, regardless of who they had signed in January, had they signed Garnacho, whoever they'd signed, it would still have been a Conte miracle, because I retain what I said at the start of the season. This would have been Conte's Mona Lisa if he wins the Scudetto with this, regardless of who they sign in January. However, they didn't exactly. They had a chance in January to buy someone, and they didn't. They couldn't get a deal done, and they couldn't find someone who would have worked out for them, and so they decided to punt to the end of the season. And Conte was very clear in his pre-match press conferences about, it's not about that player, it's not about this player, it's not about how much we invest. I'm here to help the club grow. I'm here to, he went on one of his hilarious, now all of a sudden he's the champion of youth, because now he's talking about how the club doesn't have a real functioning youth setup, and he needs to, he wants them to grow at every level. We need to have a proper youth setup, and this, that, and the other. And it's, that's kind of also a message to De Laurentiis that, I'm here to grow the club, make use of me as much as possible. I don't think, I think they were, regardless of, had they won the Scudetto, it would have been a huge overachievement. It would have been his coaching masterpiece. They have no business being in a Scudetto race, and the only reason they are is because he's built a system and attack and tactics that gets the most out of the players, as he always does. His teams are always more than the sum of their parts. And I still think they're probably going to do it, because I had from now until the end of the season, I had them winning against Udinese and I had them drawing against Lazio. Well, a win against Lazio will put them back on course. But it also kind of depends a little bit on Inter, because I have them drawing tonight. We're recording this on Monday at home to Fiorentina. And we'll see what happens. But it is, they've won, I think it was 6 or 7 on the trot. Now they've drawn 2. And above all, I think the game against, what I would say is worrying against Udinese, was that they didn't play well. They really didn't play well. They, in previous games, the 7 they won, and even against Roma, they actually played well. But here they didn't play well at all. And they looked a bit out of rhythm, out of sorts. And now they've got Lazio away, a Lazio they've lost to twice this season. They have Como away, which is not easy for anyone. And then they got Inter, and then Fiorentina, then Venezia, and then Milan. So it's a tough stretch of games coming up. And now they have to show what they're made of. But I don't think, regardless of who they'd signed, I don't think it would have had that much of an impact, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I think the squad has its limitations. The depth has its limitations. There's only that much you can do in January. Napoli historically don't invest in January. They like to do their business in the summer, similar to Marotta, who's also very, very frugal, usually in January. Because they prefer to when there are more players available and more opportunities available during the summer. I think this game was more conditioned by a Napoli that seemed to, they were a little bit tense. I mean, when they've beaten, when they beat Juve, when they beat Atalanta, they looked natural. It flowed more. Here they looked a bit tense. Even against Roma in the first half, I thought they looked much more relaxed and things were more flowing. Here it didn't. Here it didn't at all. Udinese really, really put them to it and closed off how the way that the Napoli usually play, and were created quite a few good chances for themselves as well. And I think Runjaic this season has been one of the revelations of the Serie A. The way that he came from nowhere, the way that he's reinvigorated the squad. I mean, we interviewed Maduka and we interviewed Biol this season, who said that Runjaic has brought in a belief into this team, an energy into this team, as well as tactically, and you can really see that on Udinese. And they've done really, really well. So we have to give credit to them as well. But I felt that Napoli, I look at this and I feel that, well, what do we know about Conte, and that is he works the best under pressure. That's when he does his best work. And now he's under a little bit of pressure. Uh, they didn't play well at all, but you can't, playing badly once is not an issue, and especially after a run of form where you've played really, really well. So it's not a panic, but there's a small alarm bell ringing off, and we'll have to wait and see how they handle it against Lazio away. I think that is a very key game.
The problem is that the problem is with this game is that we saw the limitations of the bench in this game. That's the we saw, first of all, a couple of players are out, and Juan Jesus and Mazzocchi. Oh my God, he is so way off the level needed for a team at this level. He is oh my God, one of the worst performances I've ever seen. I've lost count how many crosses from the left that he overhit to the back post that went way over, straight out of play. And obviously he was to blame for the goal with that stupid blind clearance that gave it straight back to Udinese. And then I don't know how Merit gets beaten from that angle and that far out. And that's on Merit. I mean, it was a very kind of strange kind of almost like knuckleball strike. It had a weird trajectory on it, which made it difficult for the keeper. But your goalkeeper doesn't get beaten with a side foot shot from that far out, way out on the right. I'm sorry, you don't. That's on Merit as well. So we're seeing the limitations. A couple of players out, and you're playing Juan Jesus and Mazzocchi, who are just way off the level of a Scudetto team. But then if you look at the bench, I mean, honestly, your first midfielder to come on is Billy Gilmore, and the next one is Philip Billing. And these are the players you want to bring on, and then in attack you've got you bring on Simeone and Raspadori. These are players that you're trying to win. Try and turn the game round. I mean, this it's and as I've said, if Napoli get a few injuries in attack or midfield, they're finished. They're going to drop points every single week because these players are not good enough at all. So they're going to need to be relying on luck to these players not to get injured as well. So this could have all been solved by strengthening the squad. Even if you weren't able to get a like for like replacement for Kvara because it's January. It's difficult to replace, big names in January. It's not an easy market. Even that's the case. We'll go out and buy someone in midfield that can help make the difference. Instead of buying Philip Billing on loan, buy a proper midfielder. With the Kvara money. It doesn't have to necessarily be you spend that money just on the position for Garnacho, but even still in attack, the replacements in attack are just not good enough. And the attack in general this season is
That's a weakness.
Is a weakness. I mean, look at this. I mean, Politano and is two goals this season, all this season. Politano, Neres 2 goals all season, and Neres has been very good, although he wasn't good in this game. And then the subs. I know they've only had limited minutes because Conte never makes subs before the 70th minute generally. But Simeone 1 goal, Raspadori 1 goal, and Gonj, and those 3 came on to apparently try to rescue the game. 0 goals, and even Lukaku, who was very poor in this game, got completely dominated by Soleil, who was fantastic.
He was fantastic.
Lukaku only has 6 non-penalty goals this season. So, I mean, given the output from the attack this season is miraculous, what Napoli have managed to do. Obviously, McTominay has chipped in with a lot of goals, and he scored again in this game, and he was dangerous. Great header, and Guiso's chipped in some goals as well. But yeah, I just have to underline what I've said. I mean, that not doing business in January and letting Conte continue the season with this squad, a weaker squad without Kvara, is he's been let down. I'm sorry, he's been really let down because this was a golden opportunity. Generally, I understand save your money for the summer. If Napoli were comfortable in 4th and 4th was pretty much in the bag, then I would have agreed with not going for it. But when you're in the position that Napoli were, you're top of the league, you're fighting it out with Inter, you're only playing once a week, you've got a golden opportunity, you're in form, golden chance to win the Scudetto. Go out and spend the money and win the Scudetto because you might not get another chance. Napoli went 33 years without winning the title. Take that opportunity because you won't get it next season. This Napoli squad, I'm telling you now, Conte or no Conte, Napoli will struggle next season in Serie A. Top 4 is really what the best they can hope for. because this squad is way off being able to compete on a European and domestic front. Impossible.
Well, just on history doesn't repeat itself; it rhymes. And if you remember, back when Conte won his first Scudetto with Juventus, it was Fiorentina and Amauri who beat Milan at the San Siro to help Conte and Milan and Juve take over charge of the title race. Well, Inter were hammered by Fiorentina midweek, and they got Fiorentina again. So Fiorentina could once more help Conte win another Scudetto. But we'll see what happens there. Just as a little historical anecdote. It's I still think that they'll be fine, because you can't expect them to just go on these, like, if they keep winning 7, drawing 2 like that, they're going to win the title. There's no doubt about that, and I think they will, because they are very solid defensively, and solid defenses is how you win the Serie A. That's just, every league has its own characteristics. The Serie A, the team with the most solid defense usually wins the title. The attack is a problem, but I think that if there's anything they've shown this season is that they don't need to score a lot, because they don't have the players to score a lot, but they can score in important moments, and above all in big games. So we'll see what happens against Lazio. And also, like I said, Conte's teams when they're under pressure, and Conte when he's under pressure. And now after 2 draws, because remember, they beat Atalanta, they beat Juve, and Napoli's a little bit of a place where people get too excited very easily. Now after 2 draws, that it's back to the drawing table a little bit, back to reality. And I think if there's anyone who is good at maintaining those expectations and keeping people grounded, it is Antonio Conte. So we'll see what happens, but they do have a tough run of games coming up. It's Lazio, it's Como, it's Inter, it's Fiorentina, and then Venezia, Milan. So we'll see what their true metal is made of.
Yeah,
these games. We do expect them to. I still think they're going to win it.
Well, one team who have had the window just slightly opened for them through the results of Napoli and Inter is Atalanta, who have been on very bad form themselves and got knocked out in the Coppa Italia in midweek by Bologna as well. But they had a welcome return to form against Hellas Verona, thrashing them 5-0. But the story is, of course, about one man, Mateo Retegui, who scored 4 goals in this game. Takes him on to 20 goals for the season. He's running away with the Capocannoniere crown. He's up to 5 ahead now of Moise Kean, who scored 2 against Inter on Thursday. This is Retegui's in the bag now, isn't it? To be finished top scorer of Serie A.
Absolutely. I think he's going to reach those. I mean, I had him above 25 and that he was going to win the Capocannoniere before the season started. I think we're talking...
Could even hit 30.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think he could hit 30 because of the fact that he also takes penalties, even though he's missed a couple. He's still their number 1 penalty taker. And also, if you look at those finishes against Hellas as well, I mean, all of them, they're goal poachers finishes. And that's something he's always had. He's always been a killer in the box. But what has made him stand out this season, which he didn't have for previous seasons if you actually watched him, is his ability to play with his back against the goal, his pressing, his movement, his link up, his ability to put others into play. That's all on Gasperini. The level he's playing at right now, that's Gasperini. His aerial presence, his killing in the box, he's always had that. He's a monster in the air, and he's an assassin. And all these goals against Hellas prove exactly that. And given how Atalanta play, that's going to pay off dividends, lots of dividends in the Serie A. And so I expect him to reach 30, and I expect him to become Capocannoniere.
The second goal was absolute class finish. The way that he took it from his right foot onto his left, all in one movement to make the space, and then hit it bang into the bottom corner. That's pure class. That looks a lot easier than it was. That's a world class finish. By a world class strike. Can we call him world class now?
I think this season he has been world class. Yeah,
just the Champions League that he hasn't really. I think we still need to see him to do it in the Champions League, don't we? Because Atalanta have been great in the Champions League, but he hasn't. So
he's been okay in the Champions League, but I think that I think he has played at a world class level. I wouldn't go so far as to say that he's a world class player. I think you need to be more consistent and you have to do it more in the biggest stage. But he has played at a world class level, or at least world class adjacent this season in terms of his overall strike play.
But Nicola Skira put out a story at the weekend that he rejected a massive offer from Saudi Arabia in the last days of the transfer window.
He's not going there.
Salary of 20 million euros, 15 to 20 million euros. But he also added that Premier League clubs want him in the summer, which is no surprise to me.
No.
That the Premier League are going to come in for him.
I still don't see him going to the Premier League. I still think that he will go to Juve, or depends on what happens with Inter and Juve. I think if Vlahovic is sold, and he's going to be Juve's number one target, and I think if Thuram is sold, then he's going to be Inter's number one target.
We're getting to that territory though, Nima, where he's going to be too expensive for Serie A teams.
I don't know.
We're approaching that kind of territory now, aren't we?
Yeah,
and that's the problem. It's I don't know. I hope he stays at Atalanta for one more season for the reasons I said, because I want him to go into that World Cup with Italy settled, on form, in good shape, and confident. And I don't want him risking joining a new club where you don't know what could happen at a new club. It's always a bit of, especially when you're leaving Atalanta, like almost every single player that's left Atalanta has disappointed in the last 5 years. So it's I just want.
But that's because they're system players. I don't think Retegui is a system player. Like that's exactly it. Like if you look at where his goals come from, if you look at how he's played, it's not because the system is making him look good. You can argue that about other players, but not with him. With him, he's reaping the benefits of the system, and he's improved his game, which elevates Atalanta as a whole. Something they've not had, something they didn't have with Scamacca, for example, who was, even when he was good, he couldn't do what Retegui's doing. Retegui's a complete striker this season at Atalanta. I think he's so for me. I don't think he's a system player as such. I think he's developed. He's taken strides. He's only 25. And Gasperini's a great coach. He's developed him, and also he's kept the characteristics that he has that made Atalanta want to buy him, and he's reaping the benefits of that.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I mean,
and if you look at Italy, Moyes, finally, 2 Italians at the top of the Serie A capocannoniere. I mean, those two have to start together. Moyes Ken and Mateo Retegui, they picked themselves in the 3-5-2.
Well, that's the question. I mean, I think it's great for Italy, like you said. I think the question mark is, can they play together? Are they?
I think so.
Are they adaptable? I'm not sure. They're both first. They're both first strikers. That's the problem. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they can play together. But we'll see. We'll see what Spalletti can do with them. I mean, a front two is different. Like in the front three, where maybe you put Moise Kean out wide. Maybe that's more workable, even though I think Keane's better in the centre. But in a front two, I don't know. Listen, either way, it's great because you need options in attack, and Italy have had not even one option in recent years. To have two, performing, and Moise Kean as well is also Premier League clubs looking at him ahead of the summer as well, and he's great. Yeah, that's great for Italy. But yeah, for Atalanta, listen, this is an important win because they're on a very, very bad run of form. And they've got, obviously they've got Club Brugge in the Champions League now. And they were able to kind of rest a few players in the second half ahead of that game because they have a lot of injuries at the moment. They've just lost Daniel Maldini. They're absolutely decimated at the moment, Atalanta. And that is worrying, also thinking of the Champions League. Because if it didn't have all these injuries, I would even say that they could almost work their way back into the Scudetto race because they've got a good run of fixtures coming up in Serie A. They've got their next run of games in Serie A is Cagliari, Empoli, Venezia. They're their next 3 matches before they play against Juventus. So
and then they've got Juve, Inter, and Fiorentina.
Yeah, then they've got a horror run. But before that game against Juventus, they've got they get 9 points out of 9. Given the fixtures the difficult fixtures that Inter and Napoli have, at the moment they're 5 points off the top of the table now. So assuming they drop some points, Napoli, Inter, they could be kind of around about level or a point behind or something at the end of that run, and then they're right back in it again. So, but I think the injuries are really going to affect them a lot, because they really are like decimated. So I don't know what's happened with them, with the injury situation. Atalanta, they need to sort it out, because it's going to ruin their season, including the Champions League. Talking of injury-prone teams, Juventus, they win at Como 2-1, which I believe is only the second time this season they've won 2 games in a row. It was just pure luck that they win this game. It's a horrible performance, one of the worst performances of the season from Juventus. This game, they basically created nothing in the entire game apart from, and I wouldn't even call it a created goal. The first goal from Kolo Muani was a moment of individual brilliance that he made all on his own. It wasn't created. And the second goal is a penalty which is just gifted to them by the Como goalkeeper. So that's not created either. Apart from that, they've created absolutely nothing in this match. Como were the better team. Como dominated the play. They controlled the game. They had the possession. They had the big chances. Di Gregorio's made 2 miracle saves in the first one from the first half. He tipped around the post, and then another one at the start of the second half. He made a lot of saves in this game. Juventus, they're just lucky. They're lucky to win this game, and just the fact that they've won this match. Okay, that's hugely important in the race for the top 4. But if they keep playing like this, they're not going to get top 4. This was luck. This was pure luck. They won this game. There's no other way to describe this win other than luck. I have to be honest. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and they were lucky not to concede a penalty when Gatti did hit the ball with his hand as well. But it's
well, yeah. I mean, if you want to talk, it's not a penalty, but yeah, it could. It's they have been given.
He hits the ball with his hand. I mean,
yeah, but it's not. I mean, it's not a penalty. But
if he hits the ball with his hand, it's a penalty. But it depends on whether or not it's intentional or not. But it's definitely it's a risk, to put it.
Well, yeah, it's a risk because it touches his hand, but it's a natural movement. When you tussle for the ball with a player in this scenario, you both put your arms across the others to duel for it, which is what both players did. He happened to brush the ball with his fingertip very, very slightly, but is completely natural. And to be honest with you, everybody said that. All the referees commented.
No, I saw they saying that basically I saw the DAZN explanation for it. It says that it's not punibile because it's not intentional, and when it's not intentional, they look at if he makes his body unnaturally bigger, which he didn't. There's no doubt about that. And so, but it's still very much.
It's fortunate. It's not a penalty, and you know my view on giving penalties for ridiculous things like this, where it's a natural movement. You should never give penalties for a natural movement. You'll tussle for a player with the ball, and I think they used the explanation of the representative of the Referees Association on DAZN said you're tussling for space. Which I guess you can call it tussling for space. You're tussling for the ball.
For position, to put yourself in a position.
This is a natural movement. Both players did it. Gatti just happened to touch it with his ball. But why they're fortunate is, and I think this is worrying, and this is what drives me mad, is that they played the recording of the 2 guys in the VAR booth. One of them thought it was a penalty, and the other one said no, it wasn't a penalty, and they went with the guy that had the final decision, and he didn't give a penalty. So for me, that's worrying. But it also shows that. Yeah, a little bit fortunate in the sense that, well, one of them was going to give a penalty for that. So, that could have been given, Juventus lose. But regardless of that, Juventus deserved to lose this game, regardless of that penalty or no penalty.
I don't think they were that bad. I think a draw would have perhaps been more fair. But
maybe. They definitely deserved to win the game, though.
Yeah, I think it was one of those games where you didn't deserve to win it. That I can agree with, but I don't think they deserve to lose.
Do you know what do you know what their non-penalty XG was in this game? 0.44. I mean,
it's looked like this all season. I'm not surprised. There are issues at Juve, and they've been blatant for everyone to see. I think they go into this PSV Eindhoven game. Look, if they lose that, I don't know what happens with Motta. I really don't know what to tell you. Like, you got the Juve Inter sandwiched between these two as well. So, I don't know what to tell. I think this is a decisive week for
these next 3 games, yeah.
I think it's a very, very important week for Juve and for Thiago Motta, because there's not that much patience at Juve, regardless of all the explanations, all the context. Inter Milan, Juve, there's not a lot of patience. And if you exit the knockout phase, the very first hurdle against PSV Eindhoven, and then you lose against Inter, I don't know if he survives that.
He's also playing a PSV team that are in horrible form at the moment. They've completely collapsed. They were running away with the Eredivisie. They're in terrible form. Ajax have now overtaken them, and Ajax could with Farioli, so well done to him. Could look like they're going to go on and probably win the title now. But with Motta, I'll be honest with you, until they scored that penalty in the 89th minute, which was their only shot of the second half. Right, by the way, 0.13 non-penalty XG, only shot on target in the second half. Until that, I was thinking, what am I going to say for the pod? And I was ready to call. I was virtually ready to call for Motta for him to be sacked. Because after watching that game, that's how bad it was. And I'll tell you why. The reason why is, yes, okay, Juventus still have a lot of problems in defence because of all the players out. And everything, and Lloyd Kelly came on and made his debut and was horrible, although he played at left back, which makes no sense. He's a centre back. Why the hell are you playing him at left back? So I'm going to go easy on him for the fact that he was playing out of position. But for much of the season, he's had an asterisk next to the poor performance of his attack and the lack of creativity, in the fact that Juventus for much of this season have had lots of players missing in attack. They've had long injuries. Nico was out for ages. Vlahovic has been the only attacker for a long time, and obviously has been underperforming, and people have been blaming him. And so we've been kind of letting him off the hook. I mean, I've been saying, well, okay, yes, it's not good enough, but we've had, he's had players missing in attack. But now they've got everyone in midfield and attack. They're all back. He pretty much got all the options available, and he's brought in Kolo Muani as well. And they still, against Como, they create nothing in the entire game against this Como with all his midfielders and attackers available. So I'm sorry. Now there's no excuse. There's no excuse that players are missing and players are out. Now it's quite clearly Thiago Motta's systematic problem. Now we've got the answer to that. Now you can't argue against that now. Before you could say, well, maybe you can't now. So
If it continues, yeah, for sure.
So that's why I was ready. And then they got the penalty and they scored, and he's been given a
lifeline.
He's been given a lifeline. It's not good enough. It's not good enough at all. And Coop Miners was kind of symbolised this performance.
I don't understand why he insists playing him where he's playing him. I don't understand it. What is the problem? Like, why is everyone able to see this? Like, this the way that he puts Coop Miners. I just feel he doesn't get the most out of Coop Miners, and when he plays Kenan Yildiz, I just don't think it's working.
This game was really weird because I was looking at the positions of the players, and it was like Coop Miners and McKennie were more advanced than Yildiz and Gonzalez, who were playing kind of in deeper roles, almost in midfield roles for the build-up. It was weird. Really, really weird. And then you put Kelly at left back, and so I don't know. I mean, maybe he's trying to change the things around, but yeah, like you said. But with Coop Miners, I mean, that's his fault. The goal. I mean, what is he doing? He tries to 45th minute, seconds before half time. He tries to dribble out of his own penalty area. He gets tackled. They cross it to the far post, and Juventus concede their 1,000th goal this season with a goal at the back far post, which they concede all the time. Teams are targeting them at the far post all the time. I've been saying that for months now. The Juventus can't defend. Their fullbacks can't defend crosses, and teams are targeting, putting crosses into the far post. They're conceding time and time again like that. But Coop Miners, what is he doing? You're supposed to be the experienced player of the team. 45th minute, and you try and dribble out of your penalty area and get tackled. Juventus have conceded so many goals like that. Usually it's Cambiasso trying to dribble stupidly, but at really stupid times, like in injury time, either at the end of the game or in this case, at the end of the first half, there are times where you just don't mess around with it. Just clear the ball, put it into row Z, pragmatism. just that is when you don't mess around with it. And he tries to dribble out. But I mean, yeah, he's there's talk he's going to be dropped now apparently for the PSV game. We'll see if he is dropped, but
It's a
yeah.
weird one. It's a very, very weird one, and it's we'll see how they handle it. But this is a very, very important week for Juve. It's very, very decisive, and I look at. I wonder even if Milan beat Bologna in that postponed game that will never be played. It feels like they're on 41, 2 points off Juve. I worry if for Juve. I don't think they'll, because the way Lazio and Fiorentina are going. I don't know, man.
No, right now, if I have to put a bet on right now, I'm not betting on Juventus. I'm not.
Same.
I'm not. But obviously, there's a long way to go. Things can change. But I look at how everyone's playing, and Milan now, with the how they've strengthened, and we'll come on to Milan in a second. I do. I don't think it looks good, and that's why I was going to call for Motta, because I feel like it's got to the point now where maybe the only way it's going to change is if they bring in a new manager. And if it wasn't so important for finishing the top four, I'd be more inclined to say, look, let's stick with Motta, give him a chance for the project to go. We've seen managers struggle in their first season. Guardiola at City struggled, Arteta at Arsenal struggled, and then they stuck with him, and then eventually they built something. And I'm not saying that couldn't happen with Motta. The problem with Juventus is they're in such a situation financially where they literally, if they don't qualify for the Champions League next season and they lose up to 100 million, then it's absolutely catastrophic for that project. It puts them back about 2 or 3 years. It's devastating. They cannot afford that. You cannot bank on. You can't stick with Motta for the reasons like I just explained, because financially the project's in tatters. So that's why you'll have to sacrifice him. The only other final point I want to make about Juventus is Dusan Vlahovic. He's benched again. So he's
going to leave in the summer. We know that.
Know that, but not even a minute played in a game where you're chasing, where you haven't had a shot in the second half, and you still don't bring him on. And I think that says it all, doesn't it, of where he is now.
Yeah, I think it's evident that that was a ginormous failure. His entire tenure at Juve has been a ginormous failure, and I think I wonder where he goes from here, because I don't see the problems disappearing regardless of where he goes. I think if you're going to play for a top club, you're going to have to be able to play with your back against the goal. You're going to have to be able to link up. You're going to have to be able to put others into play. You're going to have to be able to do the things that all the top number 9s and the biggest clubs do, and he does not do that. He doesn't do a single thing of those. In fact, he's also missed sitters for about a year and a half consistently. I think that's more down to confidence more than anything, lack thereof. But where does he go? Does he go to an Arsenal that wants to win the Premier League? I'm not sure Arsenal are interested anymore. I mean, I know they're interested, but
that's going to be a problem in itself, because Juventus are going to have to try and find a buyer, and I don't know who the hell will try. And his attitude.
Well, it's not going to be. I mean, if it's a buyer, it will be someone outside of the top tier. And will he be interested?
Will he be interested? They're not going to be able to pay him his 12 million a year, because I think there's a good opportunity he ends up staying at Juventus for a year
and leaves on a free transfer.
Just so that he can get his 12 million. Because I wouldn't even pay, if I'm a buying club, I wouldn't even pay him half of that. That's and his attitude stinks as well. He was caught on camera slagging off Gatti on the bench as well. You just can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
It's turning into a nightmare. Or it is a nightmare, not turning. It is a nightmare. His tenure at Juve is a nightmare, and but the
positive is Kolo Muani. He's single-handedly saving Juventus now. 5 goals.
I think they should try everything to keep him. If Motta stays, I think they should try to keep him, because he's very useful.
Well, either way, he's also adaptable. He can play on the wings as well, and he scored 5 goals in 3 games. His first goal was brilliant, by the way. It was absolutely brilliant. He made that all on himself. There's a bit of, I've seen people comparing him to Osimhen, but I think there's a bit of Asprilla in him as well. Like he's got that deceiving pace and kind of unorthodox running style in the way that he goes past players, and he's also got those explosive qualities as well. And I mean, thank God for him, because otherwise, Juventus, I think, definitely no chance of the top 4. He's single-handedly keeping them in the race at the moment. Where they'll be fighting against Milan, who just about beat Empoli in a very, very eventful game, let's call it that, it wasn't looking good for Milan at all. When they went down to 10 men with Tomori, and we'll come on to the referees and VAR in a little bit. But they played very badly first half, 0.06 XG. They were even beating Motta for XG, for low XGs in the first half. The attack was really, really bad. And in fact, Empoli had the better of the chances in the first half. But Sanchez made a triple change at half time. Leao, Pulisic, and Gimenez coming on for his debut, on for Musa, Abraham, and Jimenez to try and differentiate them. And it was the subs that changed the game. Those three subs won this game for Milan. Jimenez got on his debut, got Marinucci sent off when Milan were down to 10 men and looked almost certain that they weren't going to get a win when they were down to 10. He gets Marinucci sent off. He evens things up. Milan take charge. Leao scores the first goal. And Jimenez then scores the second with a beautiful, beautiful goal. Lovely left foot he's got. Cutting inside, curling it in. And Pulisic got the two assists. And Milan win this game. So it was all about the subs, but it was also kind of like coming back to what we were saying about Juventus and Napoli and their kind of lack of firepower in attack. We saw here that this is one thing Milan do have. They have firepower. They have depth on the bench in terms of the attack. And it was the attacking subs that won them this game.
Yeah, it was. Pulisic continues to get assists and point and goals and become decisive for Milan. He's been continues to be their most consistent player in terms of actual points, assists, goals. Very useful for them, and Conceição continues to get the reaction he wants when things aren't working. This is really the Conceição show, and it has to be. When you appoint someone like Antonio Conte, when you appoint someone like Sergio Conceição, you're going to have to give them what they want. Otherwise you're just wasting everyone's time. And he's on top of things. The three subs he makes are the ones that win the game, and it's a very important game. It's important for Gimenez to score. It's important for Gimenez to feel involved early on, and he is. He gets Marinucci sent off, and he's able to score the second goal as well. And Pulisic, of course, with the two assists. No, Milan are slowly but surely coming back, and I think if they can get past Feyenoord, because I think that won't be easy by any stretch of the imagination. But they're a very gritty side, Milan, under Conceição, and that makes them a really pain in the butt to play against. I think they can go pretty far in the Champions League. I'm not saying they're going to win it or anything like that, but I think a semi-final, I wouldn't be surprised if they went there. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I think final's a very winnable game, but I mean, they had luck in this game in the sense that they were bad in the first half, and then they were down to 10 men, and we'll come to that in a minute. But if it wasn't for the Marinucci being stupid, I mean, they're probably not gonna win this game. So they got a little bit of luck in that sense. Even though if VAR wasn't what it was, if the rules weren't what they were, and there's no way Tomori should be sent off. But it's just the firepower they've got. They've got so much, and they've got so many players that can do things out of nothing and score out of nothing. So that even when they're playing badly, and they weren't playing well in this game, they've still got attackers that can win games out of nothing. And I feel like if you compare that, say, to Juventus don't seem to really have that. I mean, okay, Kolo Muani did that, and he's inconsistent every now and again, but generally Juventus are really predictable in attack, whereas Milan, they've got so many individuals that can do stuff. And João Felix was very lively as well. He did some really great dribbles, lots of shots, lots of efforts. I mean, he scored that fantastic goal in the Coppa.
Tried to do it again against Empoli as well.
Yeah, which was a bad decision. I mean, listen, we know the problem with João Felix. For his career, he's been someone who's always flattered to deceive. At all his clubs, he always looks exciting at the start with his new clubs, where he has these kind of games like we saw with Milan, and then he kind of peters out, and so we'll have to see if that happens with Milan. But I think that, to get the best out of him, he needs to play in the front two. I do believe that.
Agreed,
And
100%.
so I think that that's something that Conceição probably wants to do. He needs to find a way to do it that will work with everyone else. But I think that the signs so far with João Felix are good. He just obviously, his end product in this game, certainly with his finishing, was a letdown. And that has been a problem in his career. So he needs to sort that. But I mean, yeah, he lights up games and he's great to watch as well. Like for us that complain about there not being individuals in football, it's great to watch.
He's a lovely player to watch. He is. He really is. It's just not enough end product. But I got to be honest with you. I think Gimenez and João Felix are archetype Conceição attackers in a two-man attack in a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1, however you want to play with the numbers. But so I think they'll be fine. But it's a tough stretch of games. They're playing every 3 days now until the 2nd of March, including 2nd of March when they're playing Lazio Milan. So he needs to rotate. Yeah. And then if they go through from Feyenoord, you got the Coppa Italia semi-final, whether it's Inter or Lazio, and then of course they could play Inter again in the Champions League.
Could be 4 games against Inter.
In a space a couple of weeks.
But that's why you need a squad. That's why you need this depth in attack. And I think Milan's transfer market has given their opportunity.
They've given them chance. They've given themselves a chance.
Exactly. They can cope with
exactly
with it, and that's why it's important, and that's why Anyway, but listen, we have to talk about the two. Well, no, it's three incidents. First of all, let's start from the beginning. The Cacace tackle on Walker at the start, where the VAR looked at it to whether it would be a red card, and it's a dangerous tackle. It's an ankle breaker.
Yeah.
He's got away with it, and I think this was my interpretation, and I think this is what the referee that appeared on DAZN said as well. He's got away with it because Walker's leg is quite low down.
Yeah.
It's not high enough, and that's why he's probably got away with it on a technicality.
Agreed.
It's a dangerous tackle. That could have broken his ankle. It's planted on the floor as well, so it could have broken his ankle. But I think on a technicality, if we're looking at it by the law, it's orange, and maybe not orange enough.
Yeah, to be a red. It's not red enough. Yeah, I agree with that analysis. I think that's spot on.
Yeah, okay, we're agreed on that one then. But he was definitely risking it. Then we have
risky.
The Tomori.
And clumsy.
Yeah. Then we have the Tomori incident where he gets sent off.
He gets 2 yellow cards.
Yeah, he gets sent off for a second yellow for a foul on Colombo. For starters, it's a clear foul and it's a clear yellow. There's no arguments on that. I think anyone can argue that. The problem is that Colombo was offside when he received the ball, clearly offside as well. But the linesman didn't put his flag up for offside. So by the law, the correct decision is made because VAR can't intervene on yellow cards under the protocol VAR. And as a result, Tomori gets the second yellow. They can't overturn it.
Which I think is a whole loophole that they need to address, and I think they will.
Yeah.
I think it's a loophole. If it's a second yellow, I think the VAR should be able to intervene because it becomes a red. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's just 1 yellow, that's fine. But if it's a second yellow, if you're on a second yellow and it becomes a red, I think the VAR should be able to intervene.
I totally agree because these kind of decisions change games.
They do. They change games. They influence games. But the referee didn't get it wrong. He just couldn't do anything.
No, I agree. Yeah, we can't really criticize because they're done by the laws. But the problem is
to apply the law as it is.
The problem is that if Marianucci hadn't got himself sent off, then Milan probably don't win this game, and that's huge for the top four. That's they're really putting their top four at risk, and this changes seasons. So they've got to address this. They've got to change that. Yeah. And the Marianucci red card, I mean...
There's not much to say. I mean,
stupid, isn't it?
No, stupid. He lost his head. Gimenez is smart, but he gets booked also, Gimenez. So let's remember that. He gets booked for that. But he's smart because he's drawing that. He's drawing a red card. And Milan wanted to draw that red card. And it's not by chance that 3 minutes later, Leao scores the opening goal. So now this was the classic Conceição shithousery. This is what you're going to get with Sergio Conceição. And so Milan are going to be like this under him. Long gone are the days of Joga Bonito. This is for sure. FC shithousery. FC Portuguese shithousery. Mm-hmm. Welcome to FC shithousery Milan. Enjoy the stay.
Right, okay. Just before we move on to Lazio and Roma games, Want to let everybody know that there is a work opportunity at the Italian Football Podcast. We are planning to hire a part-time paid social media content creator, and the role will basically be to create content and to grow our social media pages, in particular Instagram and TikTok. So if anybody listening to this is interested and has qualifications and experience of doing this, knows how to create content on social media for Instagram and TikTok in particular, and are able to, and it has to be football content, Italian football content, of course. So
Yeah.
you need to have some knowledge and understanding of Italian football, and are able to
Yes.
create this kind of content and have experience of building up and growing social media pages, then please email us on the Serie A show at gmail.com. And together with obviously your experience and qualifications. If you've got a CV, great. If not, please just explain to us what your experience and qualifications are. We're going to be looking through the applications. Additionally, there's another work opportunity as well. This potentially could be a separate role, or it could be combined
Yeah.
with the other, depending on kind of what applications we get. We're also planning to hire a part-time paid video content creator. The role basically will be to create daily Italian football video content to go mainly on our YouTube page, but also to be used on our social media pages. And the big plan is for us to basically for it to grow our YouTube page. We have 4,500 subscribers on YouTube at the moment. We want to grow that and build that page up. So we want somebody again who has experience, qualifications of doing this, of building a page up on YouTube, is able to create video content, uh, and that could take the form of many things. That could be you yourself speaking to camera, and publishing that content. It could be news, it could be opinion. We're open to ideas, but we want someone that has experience, is able to create that content, and of course has knowledge and interest in Italian football as well. It's good on camera. So if that's you, please again email us on the Serie A show at gmail.com. Again, together with your experience, your qualifications, CV, examples of your work, if you have it. And Nima and myself, we will look through the applications, and then we will take things from there. Okay, let's move on then to the Roman clubs. Let's start off with Lazio, who thrash Monza, batter them 5-1. Chance after chance after chance after chance. It could have been 10 in this game. They had so many opportunities. Marisic scored. Pedro scored 2. Castellanos, Dele Bashiru scored as well. I thought Pedro and Castellanos, who Castellanos got 2 assists as well. Those two in particular were excellent. I mean, I want to give a shout out to Pedro. He's got 9 goals this season now, Pedro, at the age of 37. I think, what a legend, this guy. Still at 37. He still looks so sprightly, so lively. Still got those quick feet. He's still got that from 1 to 2 yards, that quick burst to get away from his man. Both footed, good finisher, still dribbles, still creates. I love watching him play. It's great to still see Pedro performing as he is. But Lazio as a whole, obviously we have to look at the opposition. Monza are horrendous, and I think it's clear they're going to get relegated. They're a total mess. But Lazio look good. They stay in 4th. As I've said since the start, I think they're not going anywhere. Juventus, Milan have to be very, very worried, because they're not going to go nowhere. And Napoli also need to be worried, because this looks like Nuno Tavares is back as well and flying. This looks like this is going to be a really tough game for Napoli next week, because Lazio look really good.
Lazio look really good. They really do, and they You have to remember also that Lazio have been some sort of the anti-Napoli this season. I mean, they've beaten them twice in a week. Last when they did in the Coppa and the Serie A, they've had Napoli's number, and this is a Napoli now that is put to the test. It's away, it's in Rome, so it's going to be a very interesting game. But to see both how Lazio handle this and how Napoli handle this. But yeah, no, Lazio they continue to impress. I've been kind of, I got to be honest, I've been kind of waiting for them to fall out of the top 4 race, but they don't. They just continue to do well. They lose games, they draw games, but they bounce back, and that is so impressive. They lose the derby, they bounce back. They lose to Fiorentina, they bounce back. They're very, very mentally strong, and Baroni's created an environment where it's there's calm around Lazio in the squad, at least, which is very rare for a Roman club. It's always chaos, the disaster is always around the corner in Rome. But he's created an environment that allows serenity.
And you know what I also like about them, which we haven't said. Physically, they look in really good shape. When I say physically, I mean the players, look physically conditioned very well. They've got lots of intensity there. They run. They put pressure on the opposition. And you compare that to, Juventus pretty much all season,
or Inter.
Inter in that Fiorentina game looked quite flat. I thought,
flat most of the season.
Yeah. Lazio don't, and they've been playing as many games as the other team.
Yeah, Baroni's done an excellent job.
Lower level in Europa League, but still.
But it doesn't matter. It's 3 games a week, and it's in Europe, and it's the first time he's ever been having been forced to do that, to rotate to play in Europe in his career. So you got to give credit where credit is due.
I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed by Lazio and a lot of their players. They're attackers. There's lots of goals in their attack. There's lots of depth in their attack. Which we're saying some other teams like Napoli don't have. But look, their midfield. Guendouzi and Ravella. If we're talking about best centre midfield partnerships this season, they've got to be up there as well. Those two,
especially Ravella.
Ravella was outstanding in this game. There was one run he went on, I think in the first half, where he just ate up the grass, as they say, like just charging through coast to coast and just leaving players in his wake. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, because, again, I don't want to make this all about Juventus, but I was thinking Moise Kean, after he scored those 2 goals, Juventus have let Moise Kean go for a pathetic amount of money, like 13 million, plus a few million of bonuses. Dean Huijsen
Ravella,
for about 50, and
Nicolas Caviglia.
Those three, the first 3 in particular, have been outstanding this season, and they're all young. And they're all, and Juventus have let those 3 players go. Can you imagine, don't want to make this about Juventus, but it just hammers home that point of how badly managed that Juventus team have been.
I think we're at the stage now where we have to say that Juventus made a giant mistake letting Ravella go. We can't. He's been too good for too long for us to say anything else.
This season, he did struggle last season under Sarri, but I think that's also partly down to, it was his first season. Sarri's not really someone that likes playing youngsters, and now he's found the right coach and he's expressing himself, and he's been brilliant. He's been as good as anyone at centre midfield.
No doubt.
When we're doing a team of the season, end of the season, he's now.
He's one of the. He's up there. Yeah. Depending on formation, but I think he's.
Monza are down though, right?
Yeah, it's finished. And now Nesta's being brought back, and it's just a mess.
And the thing is that they've accepted they're going down with the January window, letting Maldini and Bondo go. They're 2 best players, you could argue.
Absolutely.
And they let Pablo Mari go as well, didn't they? So I think they've accepted that they're going.
I think they're preparing for life in Serie B already now. I think Galliani's doing it. I think that's the last we see of Monza at this level. It doesn't seem like the ownership.
Is it the last of Galliani?
I think so, yeah.
You think he goes into the season?
No, but Monza, he's from Monza, isn't he? So I think he's.
I just wonder. The guy's in his 80s now. Does he want to stay in Serie B?
I think he wants to stay at Monza. He needs something to do, isn't he? What's he going to do? Sit and wait for death?
Well, he is Uncle Fester, isn't he?
No, but he's home. This is his home. He's from there. It's the perfect place for him to retire.
Yeah.
Put
Okay.
it that way.
Okay. It's his family. His Adams
Yeah,
family.
he's at home. He's at home.
Right. Let's move on to Roma. This wasn't a great game. 1-0. They win. Paulo Dybala penalty. Probably just about deserved to win. They created enough chances to win. But the positives for Roma is it's the second straight away win in Serie A, having gone the whole season without an away win before that. And now there are 8 games unbeaten in Serie A under Claudio Ranieri, and they would be in the top 4 based on the points under Ranieri. So they're clearly doing well. They're clearly doing well. They lost to Milan in the Coppa Italia, where defensively they got things a little bit wrong in that game. So that was a setback. But all in all, is again just what we've been saying. It's been very, very positive under Ranieri, and a big game in midweek against Porto. Huge. They have to get through that tie against Porto, and then it could set up a possible all Roman derby for the Europa League last 16, which we
Well,
obviously hope.
hopefully it doesn't.
We hope
Hopefully
it
it doesn't.
doesn't, but yeah. But yeah, good for Roma. Not too much to add. They've got a good run of fixtures in Serie A. They've got Parma, Monza, Como, Empoli, Cagliari, Lecce coming up.
I
So
wonder,
they could
going into the Juve game, if they're not
quite
ahead
close.
of Bologna and quite close to 7th.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll see. If they can put a winning run together in all these
Yeah.
games, then who knows? But yeah, who knows? But yeah, they're obviously a long way back. But it's things are going really well for Roma. And the big one is this Porto game. They have to win that game. Their season is dependent on it. Rest of the weekend fixtures. So Torino 1, Genoa 1, Cagliari 2, Parma 1, Lecce 0, Bologna 0, which is one of the worst games I've ever seen. And Inter versus Fiorentina is obviously the Monday game, which we're recording before. So I saw big controversy over the Torino Genoa and that there should have been a penalty. And actually the referee representative who commented on that and actually said it should have been a penalty. I've watched the incident. I don't think it was a penalty at all. But I mean, he said he thought it should have been a penalty. This one at the end where Sabelli pulled back. I can't remember who the Torino player was. Pulled them back in the box. I think it was Sanabria. I've watched the incident. For me, that's never a penalty. Like there's a bit of contact. He does pull him back a little bit, but for me, that's no way near enough contact. Again, going back to my argument that it needs to be penalties. Need to be penalties. No way. I mean, he said it was a penalty. He said it was a mistake.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not a penalty. But
It
anyway,
depends. I mean, it's like, when you talk about they want, there's certain things that IFAB tells referees that they want to curtail and they don't want to happen. And pulling shirts is one of those things where they almost have a zero tolerance policy to it. But it's impossible to enforce because you're going to have consistency issues. But yeah, I do. I think it was spot on. Given how the law is and the instructions they're giving, there has to be a penalty. But I'm also a little bit.
It's not enough.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But overall, Cagliari beating Parma. Parma and Empoli are in trouble now. Parma are in relegation. Empoli 1 point ahead of them. Como 2 points ahead of the relegation battle. Somehow Verona are 3 points ahead, despite
how I don't know how. I don't know how many times they've been thrashed, like 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what's going on, but yeah, Verona.
Someone needs to explain to me how Verona seems to always be about 3 or 4 points above the relegation zone.
It's mad. But that win Cagliari took is monumentally important. I think Monza, Venezia are all but down.
Cagliari have a fight, and then Parma don't. They need to get rid of Pecchia. They have to. Yeah. They're going to get relegated with him.
I think they can, and it's. I mean, their form is dreadful. In the last 6, they've lost 4 of the last 6 games, and they only drawn 2. I mean, it's the last win was against Monza, and before then they had 3 losses in a row. They are dreadful. Yeah. They really are dreadful.
And their defense, my God, it's open.
They don't believe in defending.
No, it's
very simple.
It's like
they just don't believe in it.
It's like the lady in Nima's meme. That.
Yeah, they just don't believe in defending. But it's not. It's crisis mode now, and Empoli too, which is such a shame because they too dreadful form. Their last win came in the Serie A came on the 8th of December against Verona.
Yeah, they also have an injury crisis in defence, which is what there's been their strong point, and there's worries about Viti as well. That looked like a really bad knee injury. The way that the leg moved back, I don't want to say it, but that was my first thought. Was
Yeah.
it could be an ACL, but hopefully
7 out of 9 losses, last 9, 7 defeats. Empoli are are a mess, and they need to snap out of it because I don't think they deserve it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. What happens to D'Aversa? I hope he doesn't get sacked because I think that would be a mistake. But yeah, it's the relegation is really heating up. Lecce took a very important point.
Yeah.
Points in the last 6. Now they got Monza and Udinese.
Yeah. Champions League, let's move on. Champions League and Europa League playoffs this week. Juventus PSV on Tuesday, Club Brugge, Atalanta, and Feyenoord Milan on Wednesday. And then Porto against Roma in the Europa League playoffs on Thursday. So huge, huge week for all of these clubs. Massive, absolutely massive. And also, of course, there's the coefficients. These are massively important because Spain have virtually caught up Italy now in the battle for second place. I mean, England have got the extra space. We can give them the place already. It's going to be out of Italy and Spain. This week is going to play a big role in the race for that second space. We need to get all our teams through. It really is as simple as that. And I expect all 4 teams. When I say I expect, I mean, I'm demanding it. I'm demanding that all 4 teams go through.
I demand 3 of them. Porto's tricky, but Club Brugge, PSV, and Feyenoord would be embarrassing if Juve, Milan, and Atalanta don't win. I'm sorry, it's that simple.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think with Porto, I mean, like I said, PSV have really hit bad form now, so that's a positive for Juventus. But then Juventus are in bad form as well. So in terms of where they're playing, so Club Brugge are a difficult team to break down. They don't concede too many goals, and they're quite tight defensively in their counter attack. And Atalanta generally don't like playing against those kind of teams. So let's hope that doesn't. Yeah, but obviously, yeah, we're expecting Atalanta to win that, and then Feyenoord. Yeah, Feyenoord have not been great this season. I expect Milan to see off Feyenoord. I do.
Porto are in horrible form. They haven't won in the Portuguese league since the 28th of December.
They're in horrible form, and they're also financially
Melt.
imploding. They've sold 2 of their key players in January, Galeno and Nico Gonzalez, who got injured 5 minutes into his Man City debut, which was a bit of a disaster. So yeah, they're I'm expecting Roma to win that game. I am. I'll be disappointed if they don't go through. But obviously, yeah, on paper, it's not an easy game. Yeah, okay. Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. So Baggio, I think it's the 2 Italian strikers that are on fire. Moise Kean for his performance against Inter in the 3-0 win in Florence, and for Mateo Retegui for his 4 goals, his poker in the game against Hellas Verona.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess we could throw in Kolo Muani as well.
Yeah. No, but for me, I think Moise Kean and Mateo Retegui are the ones. Retegui is just having the season of a lifetime, and he looks so fresh and fit and just happy with life. So yeah, he's on 20 goals. I think he might hit 30 even. There's 14 games left. He's got definitely at least 5 to 10 goals in him. So if he can stay fit, so
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see, but yeah, no, I think he's a shoo-in for the Capocannoniere, and I think Moise Kean is really, really surprising. By 16 goals is impressive. Is very impressive. He doesn't take penalties either, does he?
I think he did maybe take 1 or 2. He definitely missed one. I think he's got 15 in Serie A, but I think it's 18 in all competitions.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, it's not 16, it's 15, yeah.
Yeah, but it's 18 in all competitions, including the Conference League. So I think there's a chance he could end up hitting 30 in all comps this season. Yeah. I think there's the possibility of that, given the Conference League. Okay, so where are we at? Premface of the week. Right. So first of all, we've got Nima's favourite Iranian, Cave Solikol from Sky Sports, who
He's an
was
idiot.
reporting on Tottenham's signing of Matthias Tell from Bayern Munich. And he said that he'd never heard of him up until a couple of weeks
But
prior.
this is like that's not the own that he thinks it is. You not having heard of a player who plays for Bayern Munich is you waving a flag that says you're an idiot and you're incompetent. That's not you. That's not a mic drop moment. That's more of you admitting to the world that you're incompetent, stupid, ignorant. It's just the way I never heard of him. Like, well, like, what do you mean? You not hearing of things tells me you're not good at your job. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not
Well,
he's
he's
not
trying
a
to
mic
mock
drop
Tottenham,
moment.
isn't he? He's trying to make out, well, Tottenham are a joke. They're having they're a complete joke at
Yeah,
the
but it's
moment.
not. It's
And
you're the joke.
here they are signing a 19-year-old that I've never, no one's even heard of. That's what he's trying to make
But
out.
it's because no, but that's what I mean. I know what he's trying to do, but I'm just saying it's an own goal.
Well, of course, it's an own goal because anybody that actually follows football outside of England knows that Matthias Tell has been regarded as one of the biggest teenage sensations in European football.
Yeah,
He went to
it's
Bayern Munich.
embarrassing,
He
really,
went to
and
Bayern
it's
Munich for huge money, like 60 million euros or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
or although that's the option I think on for him to join Tottenham. He went for huge money to Bayern, and he's been compared to players like Mbappe, Benzema, players like that. I mean, this guy's he's a huge talent, and
Mm.
you're admitting to the world that you've not heard of one of the biggest
Yeah,
European.
you're admitting essentially that you're ignorant and you're not doing your job properly and you don't take it seriously. It's not the mic drop moment you think it is. It really isn't. It's actually quite the opposite. It's you waving a flag saying I'm an idiot, and that's fine. You're perfectly fine to do that. But Jamie Carragher, he was off on one, wouldn't he? Like the Virgil van
Isn't he
Dijk is.
always?
Yeah, but this one was even by his standards. This was Virgil van Dijk is better than football itself. It's got to be one of those things. It's like Van Dijk is a world class player. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong at all. He's an absolute monster, fantastic player. But this is a Maradona. This is a Messi. He's not better than football itself. Calm down. Like, have a breather. Open the window. Like, you go for a walk, but don't spit at children when you do go for that walk, as you've done in the past. Like, it's just calm down.
The obsession with Liverpool fans and Virgil van Dijk, it really is something. It really is something. The obsession with him.
No, but he's a world-class defender. He's one of the greatest defenders they've ever had. I understand that. And he is fantastic. There's no doubt about that. Right? He is a
But
world-class
the
defender.
obsession with stressing that he's the best ever.
But he's
and
not.
best
That's the
defender
thing.
ever.
He's not even. Like, he is probably the best ever they've had, and that's fine.
Well, no, but yeah.
I think you can make an argument that he's absolutely within one of the greatest defender, if not the greatest defender they've ever had at the club. I think that's fine if you want to think that. But to talk about him as if better than football itself, and like breathe in, breathe, calm down, because he's not, and no one, like everyone who watches football understands that, and I think deep down inside they understand it. But this notion that he's some sort of the greatest of all time football player, full stop, is ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, okay. Serie AS of the week. The only one I could find was our good old friend, the Lazio Faulkner, Juan Bernabé, who, despite being sacked from Lazio for reasons of that we've gone into at length, let's say, on this podcast, he was back on the weekend. He's got a new job. Well, he did it on the Sunday afternoon, where he was the Faulkner for Folgorese Caratesi, who are a Serie D club, and he brought his eagle Olympia to the game. Apparently, charged £1,000 for the appearance to fly the eagle before the match, and he inspired Folgore to a 4-2 win.
Yeah, this story just keeps continuing. It's the gift that keeps on giving, or the curse that keeps on cursing. I don't know, but it just continues. I wonder how long before he's back at Lazio. I mean, let's be honest. It's going to happen. We know he's going to return. Let's be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No, of course he is. I mean, Lotito, at some point, they're going to need their eagle back. It's just going to happen. We know it's going to happen. So I wonder when, is that before the season's over or next season? When do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe if they get to the Europa League final,
Yeah,
he might take it to the final itself. Who knows?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, let's leave it at that. We will be back later this week with a Q&A episode, and we'll also have the reaction to the Champions League playoffs as well on Thursday. So
for patrons only. So make sure to sign up on patreon.com/TIFP or YouTube memberships. People have started signing up there. So all the links are in the description.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you next time. Ciao, ciao.